What if the best research paper on the planet was one you never found? Damon Burrow, co-founder of Scholar AI, isn't just fixing search, he's reinventing discovery. Most people are swimming in information, but starving for knowledge, he says. So what happens when AI gives you direct access to the minds behind the science, not just the citations? Let's get into it. Welcome to Lead with AI. I'm Dr. Tamara Nall. In each episode, we will take you behind the scenes with visionary leaders shaping the future of AI across public and private sectors. Join us as we explore groundbreaking projects and innovations that are transforming industries and making a real impact on people's lives. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone. How are you? It is Dr. T here, your host on Lead with AI. And I'm excited to have Damon Burrow, who is the co-founder of Scholar AI. Hi, Damon. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. And I am super excited about this conversation. Number one, I have been in academia forever. As a student, I taught a little bit. And since getting my doctorate, there are some research topics that I'm so interested in, but I feel overwhelmed, drowned in like data and articles and all these scholarly perspectives. So I'm excited for me and for the listeners on talking about Scholar AI.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
absolutely. So behind every product has to be a person or a group of people. And we're here talking today. So tell us a little bit about who you are. Who is Damon at your core? And what led you to build Scholar AI? And just talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So I am currently doing a PhD at Duke University, in addition to kind of running this business along with my co-founders. And so Scholar AI is a product that was for me. So similar to how
Yeah.
you outlined, this was very much a product born of inspiration of solving my own problems as I was going through my own academic journey. Very much something that I wish I would have had through undergrad and through some of my other studies, right?
Right.
Beyond that, I was a two-sport college athlete. I'm from a very small town in Missouri, and I've been building technology for a long time. I got my start in kind of the hardcore research world in undergrad. Originally, I was designing algorithms that helped cancer, basically. And so I was optimizing radiation therapy for cancer patients, trying to make sure that they were being treated better, basically. And that kind of morphed with the emergence of AI, and here we are.
Wow. That's absolutely amazing. And what are you getting your PhD in?
Yeah, so my PhD is in biomedical engineering. So I'm working at the intersection of technology and human health. And so a lot of the work that we've done at Scholar AI helps bolster that. I can cover more area, I can read more papers, I can learn. And as we'll kind of get into later on in the conversation, Scholar AI has helped me perform better experiments, write better grants, write better
Wow.
papers, etc.
Okay, that's amazing. Well, let's get into it then. So, holy smokes. I love hearing stories about, what do people experience when they are introduced to Scholar AI, where they're like, oh my God, this really changes everything for me.
Yep. Yeah, it's a great question. So in truth, whether you find Scholar AI inside of ChatGPT as a GPT or whether you're using its standalone web app, the experience that you're going to have is very similar to an experience that your listeners may be familiar with inside of the ChatGPT ecosystem. It's a conversational chatbot. You can get into it through other entry points, and some of our more scientifically inclined people, developers, etc., may like
Okay.
that entry point better. But for a layperson, for the average user, it's a chatbot, just like ChatGPT is, and most of the secret sauce exists under the hood. And what people continue to tell us as they experience it over time is that it understands the scientific problems that they're working on better than ChatGPT. It helps surface better insights. It helps surface faster insights, and enables them to go back to the things in which their core competency really resides. It gets researchers back to the bench, or it gets researchers back out into the field, and they get to spend less time reading papers, more time doing the actual science they love.
That's amazing. So we're talking like days, weeks, and months of research, literally in minutes. Is that what we're talking about?
That's right. And kind of the things that are powering that under the hood is very early days. ChatGPT didn't give you sources. Now ChatGPT does give you sources. But what our technology does is it connects your query, the thing that you're putting into that chatbot, with an entire knowledge graph that's been built over years. Lots and lots of training data goes into this knowledge graph that basically says this user is asking for X, and we're going to give them X in a way that is enriched over what Google Scholar or over what ChatGPT just running in the standard version can do. So it's not just about surfacing insights faster, it's about surfacing higher quality insights in less time.
Wow, wow. So it's so like when we're peeking in the brain of it all or under the hood, you're saying it's more than sources.
Yeah, exactly. And so these large language models operate through typically through what is called vector search. That's very different than your Google Scholar keyword search, right, where you're just highlighting times, very kind of superficial words in a paper, that kind of thing. What our system does is it actually grabs insights out of various parts of the paper that don't just match via keywords, but also match semantically, meaning what did the user actually intend with their question, not just what did they write. And our insights, the extraction of the insights that we're able to get actually go deeper than just keywords and text as well. And we wrote some scripts again early on that enabled us not just to query the written part of all the papers, but the graphs, the tables, the
Oh,
figures, etc.
wow. Wow. Okay, yeah, this would have been helpful back in
Yeah, that's
2022 for
right.
me.
That's right. That's right.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And kind of you talked about the holy smokes moment. Talk to us about, and everybody kind of, I feel like as we're developing products, as we're advancing technology, we as founders, as creators, even we have a moment where it's like, oh my God, like I can't believe that what I am working on delivers that.
Yeah.
So talk to us about that time where you had that moment where you got chills. If
Yeah.
you have a victory dance and you want to like get up and do that, you can too, to take us back to that moment. Tell us, what is it like? Quantify it for us, visualize it for us.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great question. I don't dance, not well at
Okay.
least, so I'll skip that part. But
Okay.
no, I have a story actually that perfectly encapsulates kind of what you're alluding to. And so the devices that we build in the lab here are similar to some of the diagnostic tests that some of your viewers and listeners may have been exposed to in the past. You go to the clinic, you go to the hospital, etc. You might get a blood test for one reason or the other. We build those technologies so that people can take them into their houses, very much like a blood glucose sensor for people that are living with maybe chronic illness, or for people that maybe can't arrive at a healthcare facility. Maybe they can't drive, maybe they're not ambulatory, etc. One of the challenges that I was trying to overcome with the chip that we were developing was I needed a surface that was, or I needed a fluid rather, that would make the fluid that we were working with, specifically blood in this case, sufficiently wettable that we could control the motion of that blood drop. Because what we do is we get the blood drop on a chip, we drive it to completion. That way we can actually get the results out, very much like a blood glucose sensor does. Slightly different mechanism, but very much the same kind of core principle. And the fluids that we had in the lab, none of which were working. The combination of the blood and the surface we were trying to get the blood to transport through, they were incompatible, basically. And so I needed to find something that made the blood that we were trying to work with compatible with the kind of current architecture of the device that we had. Didn't know about it. Normally, that process would have looked through several hours of reading different material, that kind of thing. Instead, I was able to query directly with Scholar AI and said, hey, this is the problem that I'm having. Here's the goal. Here is what I know I need. Help me find a short list of possible, surfactants, basically different detergents that I could use possibly in this kind of blood cocktail that would allow me to actually get a functional chip. And lo and behold, the first hit on Scholar AI, I went to it, I bought it immediately from Sigma, went into the lab, and now we have a functional chip that we wouldn't have had otherwise.
Wow. Okay, that gave me chills. That is amazing. And while you don't dance, I'll do one for
Yeah.
you. But oh my God, I mean, that's actually, oh my God, that is amazing. And so I'm curious, like, what happens next? I mean, like, this is breakthrough. Is this now going to
Yeah.
be fed to like some large healthcare company or diagnostic
Yeah.
company, or is it still like just what you're working on in the lab for your
Yeah.
research? Or
Yeah, it's a great question, and we do have some commercial aspirations for this test. The very specific test that I'm building is built to help organ transplant recipients. So if you get a new kidney, the very short story is you go on a lifetime regimen of medication that helps you not reject that kidney and that helps you still be able to fight off other infections. And so the blood dosage that you need versus the blood dosage that I need might be very different because of our diet, our where we live, our body style, etc. And those doses are very tightly controlled. Those people need a companion diagnostic device like the one that I'm building in order to avoid symptoms and get good outcomes. And so we have commercial ambitions for the test that's being built. That said, it's a research prototype. At this point, we've received some funding based on the progress that we've made. There are several checkpoints to get until we receive FDA approval or otherwise. And yes, to answer your question directly, could be new company, or it could be licensed through an existing company such that you kind of gain distribution and you get to market faster and those kind of things. All of which TBD, but we are optimistic, I would say.
Well, that's amazing. And I have VC companies that listen to the podcast, so
Yeah,
y'all
yeah,
know who to
yeah. If you
contact.
want to, yeah, that's right.
So let's talk about the ethics. So,
Yeah,
Scholar AI can take weeks and months worth of research and literally get it to you in minutes, if not
that's right.
seconds.
That's right.
What are like the ethical boundaries that you and your co-founders have to keep in mind? I mean, some people, might say, I don't like the word devil's advocate, but
Mhm,
okay,
mhm,
some type of advocate.
mhm.
Some people might say, well, how? So we have people who are working on their masters, their PhD, their doctorates, are doing any type of research, trying to be an authority in something. And then Scholar AI just like gets it to them. How then are they going to be the authority when they didn't really like work for it? How do
Yeah.
you respond to that? How do you stay on top of that ethical boundaries?
Yeah, I mean, number one, I think it's an excellent question, and I think it is something that the field, not just us, is grappling with. Right? There are studies that are coming out that basically say kind of your brain on ChatGPT is not as good. Personally, I think it's probably not as good down some vectors and probably better in others. Right? Like if it hadn't been for Scholar AI and the example that I just outlined, it's possible that I'm still looking for a fluid that's sufficiently wetting. You know, I'm kind of the opinion that AI is more similar to a calculator and that people are going to use this as a tool to increase leverage. That said, it absolutely has to be kind of implemented and rolled out with precision and with some thoughtfulness. The way that we've approached that internally that I could speak to directly at Scholar AI is we've kind of taken two approaches. Number one, from the first earliest days of Scholar AI, one of the critical problems we were solving for, it's mostly a solved problem now, but back then it was not, is providing sources with all the material. So if some of your viewers yourself remember in the earliest days of ChatGPT, it would just make things up, right? It would hallucinate rampantly. Hallucinations are
Yeah.
not a completely solved problem, but largely are. And so the very first thing we did was here's this information that you asked for, and here's the exact paper or abstract conference presentation, et cetera, that information came from so that it could be human verified. So the humans are still responsible for going ultimately to the source material, verifying that it is real, and then verifying that it does work. The good thing is in science, we're never taught to believe it just on first pass. And so all these scientists are still having to go to the lab, still having to validate their own experiments, et cetera. And so we do think about that quite a lot. The other thing, in the second point that I would like to make here with Scholar AI is that we also, rather than approaching this in a purely question and answer style, what we do is we try our best. It doesn't always work because these large language models are a little bit difficult to wrangle sometimes. But what we try to do is present countering narratives in the output from Scholar AI, right? So if you ask an open-ended question with any amount of subjectivity, like if you ask the question, what is 2 plus 2? It's going to give you the answer 4. There's not really any ambiguity. But if you said, what is the best research path to try to solve this difficult challenge? It might outline 2 different paths to you, make sufficiently strong arguments for path A and then path B, and then leave it up to the user as a thoughtful person to say, I'm more aligned with path B because I think that argument is stronger, or I'm more aligned with path A because that argument is stronger. So kind of this thesis, antithesis, and then summary approach, whereas instead of just giving you the answer, we are giving you strong arguments for both sides and then allowing, again, thoughtful, smart people to make the determination as to which of those sides they more align with.
Yeah. And I love that. And then as you were talking, I was also kind of thinking, Scholar AI removes all of the grunt work, meaning
Yes.
the months and hours, hundreds and thousands of hours it would take me to do the research. But even if I had to take all that time, I still must become an expert on what I found, excuse me, and do critical thinking and kind of think through it. And so basically it just shortens the time of research. But like you said in the very beginning, now I have more time to be out in the field
Sure.
and, do surveys or do evaluations or be in the lab, etc.
Sure.
Like you said, like with your issue or your problem, you could still be looking for it, but now
Right.
you can move on to more value added discovery, if you will.
That's right. That's right. No, I
Awesome.
just think great.
Yep, awesome. So let's talk about the big future. So fast forward, how do you see Scholar AI really contributing to the everyday person?
Yeah, it's a good question. So right now we help tens of or hundreds of thousands, depending on the month, more so in the school year, less so in the summer months, just because of the cyclical nature of students, etc. Do research, right? Look up clinical trials, look up papers that they may reference to plan their next experiment or even help perform their next experiment, right? Protocols, that kind of thing. The other thing that we've worked really, really hard on at Scholar AI is fundamentally these large language models are kind of regression machines. They give you the average of kind of the best consensus answer, if you will. That doesn't necessarily lead itself to scientific discovery, right? The leading edge of knowledge is not consensus. Sometimes it may be where the consensus is driving towards, but it's not always kind of the average or the median. And so we've kind of taken a zoomed out approach, kind of looked across a metaphorical field and said, kind of, where are the green spaces, right? Where are the unknown, and how do we help tailor the tool that is Scholar AI, help put it in the hands of the most creative and thoughtful people and help them discover new insights. I help them push the boundaries of kind of what is known. And some of that is just a trial and error approach. And as I kind of alluded to earlier with the description of the product, in addition to just the standard chat interface, we also make the Scholar AI research agent, as we call it, available as an API. We give that out to the scientific community, and we let them build tools because they are creative people, right? Scientists are experimenters kind of in by design, and they want to build things. And so we kind
Right.
of allow them to choose their own adventure with the things that we've already built for them, being supplied by the API. They can plug into the API, they can build their own tools. So we've had people build new types of drug discovery tools. I don't know that those have actually led to the discovery of new drugs, but again, that's an avenue where people are exploring, and they're able to take our work, they're able to push it further, with their own ingenuity, and we want to continue to be enabling for that.
Uh-huh.
And as kind of a final thought here, we think it's probably going to be partnerships, because we see that Scholar AI has expertise in the domain that is sciences, but the reality is the AI tools are going across
Yeah.
productivity. And so we want to see, how can we plug into the clinical trial environment, right? How can we be apprised of new drugs as they're going through development? How can we help those researchers ask questions that they themselves don't know how to answer yet? And so it's kind of moving into that more proactive space and moving more into the cutting edge space versus just being able to answer kind of a question that, while it may have taken you time, you certainly could have done that through enough investigation of reading through the scientific material yourself, going through channels like Google Scholar or those kind of things.
Got it. Wow, that's amazing. So basically, if I want to use Scholar AI for myself and just use it as it is, that's fine. Or if I wanted to build something on it and make it a little bit more specific to my needs or in a certain industry or vertical, I can do that as well.
That's right. That's right.
Amazing. So to that point, if somebody wanted to try, experience, build, how do they do that? How do we get to Scholar
Yeah.
AI?
Yeah,
How do
perfect question.
we
Mhm. The easiest entry point is directly in ChatGPT. So in anyone that is familiar with the ChatGPT interface, on the left sidebar, there's an option for GPTs. If you scroll down to the research and analysis tab, we're number 3 on the GPT store. We kind of fluctuate between two and five, call it, depending on, again, kind of,
Congratulations.
thank you. Yes, on seasonal kind of the seasonality of students being, again, kind of in semester or out of it. And then also via that, we also have our own standalone web app, which is very much the same experience. They can find that at app.scholarai.io. If anybody wants to follow me directly, I'm happy to point them in that direction. And then for those experimenters, for those enthusiasts that want access to the API, we have a self sign up also on scholarai.io. IO. You can find all the documentation for the API there, or depending on the access that they want, if they really want to see under the hood, if they really want to kind of make it their own, we work with those people one on one. We have a team that helps do that. And so if they want to reach out to me, we can absolutely get them in contact with the right people. And then depending on the exact tool they kind of want to build, we can kind of help them hit the ground running.
Awesome. And what's the best way to get in contact with you? Is there email or LinkedIn
Absolutely.
or?
So yeah. So LinkedIn is great. I'm just Damon Burrow on LinkedIn. That's a great way to find me. The other way is email, and I'm just Damon Damon at scholarai.io.
Wow. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. So that's a lot of ways to get in contact with Scholar AI. No excuses. Build your own. It's convenient. I mean, pretty much everybody uses ChatGPT at least as one of maybe a number of LLMs. But so to go there and to know that y'all are, 1 to 5, depending on the season, is a huge accomplishment. Like kudos to you. Really,
Yeah.
really,
Thank you.
really.
Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely. So my last guest has a question for you. And that question is, having built a business through the emergence and rapid growth of AI, what are some things you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think having been a part of the earliest days. So we were one of the first plugins on ChatGPT. We were their early days. We were solving problems for the users of ChatGPT right then. It became very difficult to predict what the foundation model providers, the OpenAIs of the world, the Anthropics, Google's, even Meta in the open source world, those kind of things were going to do. And so we've tried to remain ahead of them. I think that knowing what we know now, we probably would have gone to scientists themselves earlier than we did,
Okay.
and said, how can we build specialized tools for you specifically that maybe weren't going to kind of overlap so much with what ChatGPT was doing? How do we help amplify ChatGPT? How do we help build in collaboration with the progress of that foundation model,
Mhm.
such that every time you were using ChatGPT, you were also using Scholar AI, and it wasn't so much of an either or choice. So that way, you got all the good out of ChatGPT without most of the bad, right? And you get all the good out of Scholar AI. And so I think I would have found ways that while the entry point of the GPT is very easy, I think that running a Scholar AI copilot in places where scientists already were, maybe on their favorite machines, that kind of thing, would have been something that would have been very intriguing. Would we have been able to pull it off? I think was a different question, but I think that's something that I certainly would have
Okay.
tried.
Oh, I love that. And that's great advice for our listeners who actually probably have some business ideas. Like go to the user, go to the
Yeah,
customer, if you will, to kind of get those insights. So thanks for that truthfulness in that direction. That's
yeah.
amazing. So let's do our bonus rapid fire. So I'll ask a question, quickly list the answer. Most overrated tech trend.
Oh, crypto, crypto,
Crypto? Okay.
crypto.
All right. It's interesting. I actually had dinner
Mm.
last night with someone who was like, crypto, crypto.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I guess in and
yeah,
out though.
yeah, yeah. That's right. That's right.
Most underhyped AI breakthrough.
Video models right now. I think the progress that video models are making are going to take people by surprise, for good and for bad. I think we're
Mhm.
going to see an explosion of AI generated content, both in the forms of images and videos, and I think the world is going to have to react to that in ways that are thoughtful. But I don't think enough people are talking enough about how quickly that is getting very good and becoming almost indistinguishable from human generated videos.
You're right. Again, having conversations and somebody say, you know what? If anything happens, just say, oh, that's AI generated. They won't know. But then somebody will come up with a product that will rate whether or not it's AI
Yeah,
generated. Those
yeah,
are already out there.
yeah,
So I'm sure they'll
yeah,
do that.
yeah.
One book everyone should read in general or about the future.
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm going to give a very typical answer here, but the way that I think about a lot of things comes from Daniel Kahneman's work in writing Thinking Fast and Slow. So, trying to break down a problem of, is this a problem that requires my absolute attention? And this is something that I should think thoughtfully and deeply about, or is this a question that may ultimately, be okay with an answer that is kind of somewhat knee jerk, right? Keep it moving and kind of allowing my bandwidth to be devoted to kind of a higher thing. I think that's a really great read.
Awesome. Okay. The boldest AI prediction you believe in.
I think that AI will help inspire the work in the early days and then probably be able to do a lot of the work, um, that will lead to breakthroughs in disease treatment that we are yet to predict. So I think a lot of people are looking at cures for cancer or Alzheimer's and kind of the most deadly disease, and I think that will happen. But I think there will be overlooked disease that don't command so much of the public zeitgeist, don't command so much of the research dollars, that AI will actually probably help us solve maybe more quickly because maybe they are less difficult to treat, less difficult to overcome, but that humans just haven't committed the bandwidth to, and AI will sufficiently fill that gap.
Yeah, yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, cancer gets a lot of attention. I'm going to be honest. One area that scares the living daylights out of me are blood clots.
Yep,
Because by the
that's right.
time you find those, it's too late
That's right.
most
That's
of
right.
the time.
Yep, that's
So
right.
that one really, really scares me. Over COVID, I had a number of friends, unfortunately, that passed away from it.
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
And
Yeah,
yeah, and then recently a couple of people that I was two people removed from, but still it's quite scary. So I can't wait for advancements for that. Like you get a notification early about it. So
that's right. And I think to that point, we are early days at understanding how we can best use data with AI, and
mhm.
right now a lot of that data is tethered to the digital world, the electronic world. I think, I'm somewhat biased here because my PhD is in hardware for human health, but I do think as that technology sufficiently advances, right, things like the Apple Watch or similar, to where it's kind of 24/7 or at least with some relative periodicity monitoring your blood, catching things like blood clots that wouldn't have been possible because you can't have humans reviewing that continuous stream of data, but you can have an AI doing. I think those possibilities open up in this kind of new world that we're frankly kind of being, that we're ushering in.
Yeah. Uh-oh, I might have given a secret sauce. I'm like, maybe I should have just gone and done it. And use Scholar AI to help me with my
That's right.
methodology
That's right.
and all that. So
That's right.
I don't know if I come out with a new
Yeah.
company. You never know. I'll give you credit though. I'll give you
That's
credit.
right. Yeah.
Well, Damon, I so enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much. Thank you for what you're doing with scientific breakthroughs. Thank you for your what you're doing for researchers and scientists and those like me that are like these geek out research folk. And I'm pretty sure that all of our guests are going to absolutely, absolutely love the product if they're not already using it since
That's right.
it's there in ChatGPT. So again, if people want to reach out, go to scholarai.io, or go into ChatGPT to use their app there, or you can connect with him on LinkedIn. That's last name Burrow. So thank you so much. Do keep us up to date about your studies, and I mean, I can't wait to hear what other contributions you're going to make to this world. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Dr. T, for having me.
Absolutely. Until next time, everyone. Bye bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Lead with AI. I'll see you next time as we continue exploring the cutting-edge innovations shaping AI across the public and private sectors. Until then, keep leading with AI.